When you think of America's great aviation pioneers, names come to mind like the Wright brothers, Charles Lindbergh, and of course the intriguing Amelia Earhart. Now, her disappearance nearly 80 years ago is one of the great mysteries of the 20th century. But with new technology and new evidence, the search for Amelia Earhart just might be over. I think Hot List anchor Amy Holmes will be able to fill us in.
Hey, Raj, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Welcome back.
So before we get into this new evidence, tell me about Amelia Earhart.
Well, Amelia Earhart, she is an icon, an inspiration. She was a daring adventuress who literally flew to new heights. She was born July 24th, 1897, and she was born in Atchison, Kansas, where even there she was known as being a bit of a tomboy, willing to take on, new challenges. So when she was 23 years old, she went to the Long Beach Air Show and got her first 10-minute ride in an airplane. And she says that she knew then she had to be a pilot. And she is known for being the first woman to cross the Atlantic and the first person to cross the Atlantic and the Pacific. And this was back in the 1930s when, she was basically a woman in a man's world. Amelia Earhart was a celebrity in her time. She was well known, internationally famous, and she was lecturing around the world, particularly on women's rights and the women's rights movement. And then she got it into her head that she really needed to fly around the world. So in March of 1937, starting from Hawaii, she attempts her first flight. But there's something wrong with the plane, something mechanical goes wrong, so she has to abandon that attempt. But she was undaunted. She's a very determined person, as we know, and she attempted her second flight in June of that year, 1937, starting from Miami. So the plane takes off from Miami, but they ditch some instruments and things that would weigh down the plane, and so that they could add more fuel to be able to travel the distance. 21 days later, she arrives in New Guinea. Now from New Guinea, she goes on the next leg of her trip, which is where the mystery begins. Here's what we know. She had her last transmission very early in the morning, 8:43 a.m., and then it went blank. So there are two theories about what happened when she took off from New Guinea. The first is that she ran out of fuel as she was heading to a teeny tiny island called Howland Island in the Pacific. Ran out of fuel before she got there, crashed the plane into the ocean, and that she drowned and the plane sank to the bottom of the sea. Now there's a second theory that's also very intriguing, that she spotted Gardner Island in the Pacific and landed her plane on this uninhabited island and perhaps even survived for a time before perishing there. Now there's some interesting evidence about the Gardner Island theory. Researchers and searchers for Amelia Earhart have found on this island a jar of freckle cream, and of course Amelia Earhart had freckles. They found a small shoe, they have found canned food labels, a campfire, even bones. So this would support the theory that she really was there and she at least was able to survive for a short while.
So have they found the plane?
Well, there's an organization called the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, and they have the Earhart Project where they've continued the search. Now there's some intriguing new evidence that they've brought to the fore, and that is a photo of a shadowy figure 22 feet long, 600 feet beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, off of the coast of Gardner Island. It's absolutely fascinating. So they're not sure if it's a plane, let alone Amelia Earhart's plane, but they are going to resume the search in 2014 with 2 submarines, $3 million to dive down there and find out, have they finally solved the mystery of Amelia Earhart?
Do you think it's it?
So I certainly don't have the expertise to tell you whether or not that's Amelia Earhart's
In your bones,
plane.
Amy.
In my bones. I think it's a fantastic mystery, and I think she was a fantastic woman who continues to inspire us to this day.
And that's how you wrap up the story. Amy,
Right,
thank you so much.
Raj.